It was just another Tuesday, you know? The kind where you drag yourself out of bed, dreading another day of high school drama. I was sitting in English class, half listening to Mrs. Davison drone on about Shakespeare, when Ashley, the queen bee of our school, started her usual taunts. "Still telling those tall tales about your dad, Sarah," she sneered, her cronies giggling beside her. "Delta Force. Please. Everyone knows your dad's just a mechanic." I felt my cheeks flush. It was true, my dad was a mechanic, but he was also so much more. He'd been Delta Force, a Green Beret, a real-life hero. But no one at school believed me. They thought I was making it up for attention, trying to be special. It hurt, deeply, because my dad was my hero, and they were making a mockery of him. "Leave her alone, Ashley," my best friend, Emily, chimed in, but it was no use. Ashley had a knack for making my life miserable, and today was no exception. The day only got worse from there. At lunch, Ashley tripped me, sending my tray flying. Everyone laughed, and I just wanted to disappear. I was tired of the bullying, tired of defending my dad, tired of feeling like an outsider. When I got home, I burst into tears. My dad, bless his heart, sat me down and listened patiently. He never boasted about his past, but he always reassured me that what he did was real, and he was proud of it. "Don't let anyone make you feel small, princess," he'd said, hugging me tight. The next day, things came to a head. Ashley had spread a rumor that I'd been expelled for fighting, which was a complete lie. Mrs. Davison, who always seemed to side with Ashley, called me into her office. "Sarah, I'm disappointed," she said, her voice stern. "We have a zero-tolerance policy for violence. I'm afraid we have no choice but to expel you." My heart sank. Expelled? For something I didn't even do. I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. It was like they had already made up their minds about me. As I walked out of her office, a lump forming in my throat, I saw a black SUV pull up to the front of the school. Two men in dark suits stepped out, their faces unreadable. They walked with a purpose, their eyes scanning the surroundings. Suddenly, the school doors burst open, and more men, all dressed in tactical gear, swarmed out. They were all muscular, their movements precise and coordinated. They looked like they meant business. My jaw dropped. Who were these people? One of the men in tactical gear approached me. "Sarah Miller?" he asked, his voice low and firm. I nodded, speechless. "We're here on behalf of Master Sergeant Miller," he said. "He sends his regards." Then, he turned to Mrs. Davison, who had come out of her office, her face pale with shock. "We understand there's been a misunderstanding regarding Sarah's expulsion," he stated, his voice now laced with authority. "Master Sergeant Miller would like to clarify a few things." Mrs. Davison, usually so composed, looked utterly flustered. The entire schoolyard had gone silent. Everyone was staring, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. Ashley, who had been enjoying my public humiliation, now stood frozen, her mouth agape. The man in tactical gear then proceeded to calmly and clearly explain my dad's decorated military career, the sensitive nature of his work, and the fact that he was indeed a part of Delta Force. He even showed Mrs. Davison official documentation, which seemed to make her shrink even further into herself. Master Sergeant Miller also requested we make it clear that any further harassment or false accusations against his daughter will be taken very seriously, he added, his gaze sweeping over the now terrified Ashley and her friends. It was incredible. The entire atmosphere shifted. The air, once thick with judgment and ridicule, was now charged with respect and a hint of fear. No one dared to speak. Mrs. Davison stammered an apology, practically tripping over her words as she reversed her decision about my expulsion. As the men left, the silence was deafening. Then, slowly, whispers started. Delta Force? Really? Her dad's a real hero. Ashley looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. I felt a surge of pride, a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time. It wasn't about being right, or proving them wrong. It was about my dad, and the truth finally coming out. My dad, the quiet mechanic, the loving father, the real-life hero. When I got home, I hugged my dad tighter than ever. "They believed me, Dad," I whispered, tears of relief welling up in my eyes. They finally believed me. He just smiled, that humble, knowing smile of his. "I told you, Princess," he said, "the truth always finds a way." And for the first time in a long time, I truly felt like I belonged, not because of who my dad was, but because the truth, my truth, had finally been acknowledged. It was a day I would never forget. A day when I learned that heroes don't always wear capes, but sometimes they send a squad.